All right, I guess we're rolling. Hola guys, que paso? How's everyone doing? This is Hala Pablo. Thank you for tuning in. Let's get right into Bitcoin because that's why you clicked on this video, right? No introductions. All right, Bitcoin. Bitcoin's been making some moves, right? We had a rally. We had a rally, albeit less than 4%. And look at all of this effort that went into that 4% result. That's actually a sign of weakness according to the volume spread analysis metrics. So when you see a lot of buy orders like this is a lot of buying. This is mainly retail buying right here. This is a lot of buying. In order to buy, someone has to sell, and they're buying the end of this B wave, what I believe is a B wave, and B, think a bull, think a bull trap. Normally the B wave is the bull trap. It's the counter correction from a macro ABC after a sell-off. Now on the left-hand side we have this is a Bitcoin price action on I believe, okay, so this is an 8 hour, and then over here I have this area here in the rectangle blown up on the 30-minute micro. And so this is where we currently are in this wedge-like structure underneath the macro trend resistance line. This dotted yellow line is macro trend resistance. So you see that when we marked down from this UTAD, which was the all-time high back in December, we broke structure. We came through this dotted yellow line, which is called the macro trend resistance, and it was basically the platform that every bounce on this 3 drive occurred on from the area of the preliminary supply. The preliminary supply is the area where supply begins to emerge at the end of of a rally. And so we had this rally, this 1 through 5 motive wave, this Elliott wave. We see the Trump pump here. This is the Trump pump from November, and supply started coming in around this area here, and that's incidentally where I anchored the volume weighted average price, or the VWAP, to this preliminary supply zone. And so that way the volume could be weighted throughout the entire distribution stage. And so this is where the volume weighted average price currently is. And then here on the forensic, I have it blown up because we want to see exactly what's going on in this area. Now we have two, let's see, this area here is rejection off the macro trend resistance. See, once we marked down through the macro trend, we bottomed out here, which was a mitigation point for the 4 wave. There. So we had this macro mitigation, and that created the floor, the support zone for this new, as it were, trading range beneath the macro trend support line. And here it is on the 30-minute over here on the right-hand side. And so we'll call this area the selling climax, and then we had the obligatory automatic rally and secondary test, which we find in every single trading range, regardless of whether it be distribution or accumulation. So we don't yet know. I believe this is a redistribution range, but we don't yet know what the bias is yet. But we do know that there's going to be a climax, an automatic rally, and a secondary test. So we have that established, and that establishes the support and resistance of the trading range. And then from here we've been bouncing around, but we know that every high that's been has been created once this trading range came into existence has been a failure to rally. Like this automatic rally, for example, we marked back down on low volume, and then we came back up for these series of up thrusts that created what I call the devil horns, the horns of the devil here, which is also, well, it's a double top, but it's also a failure to rally. We came back down, and we marked all the way back to this, and we created a micro, this time, trend resistance and support line, where we're trending up through the, here we crossed over the ice, or we jumped the creek. Here we fell through the ice, and here we jumped the creek. We came up, and we've been trending upward in this micro rising wedge. So that's this area here on the macro Bitcoin 8 hour. And so what had happened was we just broke this wedge. Now, rising wedges are bearish structures typically. But sometimes, especially with Bitcoin, it bucks the trend, and we have a rally that comes out of a rising wedge. Now, I contend usually these rallies, they're not real, they're kind of like false rallies. They're intended to fleece the herd, so to speak. They're bull traps, usually. And that's what I kind of suspect this is. Remember we talked about in the beginning of this video, all this effort. Look at all this volume. Look at all this buy volume. But look, it only marked up, what, 3%, right? It looks like it's a lot, but it's really not. It's only like 3.40%, right? With all this considerable volume, we haven't seen this kind of demand since back in the beginning of December, the second week of December, right before the Federal Reserve made their announcement that caused everything to tank during the altcoin season. So we haven't had that kind of volume, that kind of magnitude of demand volume since back then. Well, lo and behold, here we have it. I think we even have more, but we've only managed to rally less than 4%. So that tells me that despite all that effort, there's really not a lot of value. Bitcoin's not holding its value above the macro trend resistance line. And indeed, it looks like we've temporarily got held up here, and it looks like it's creating another failure to rally at this very, very strong macro trend resistance. Now, I'm not saying that we're not going to be able to prevail through it and back into this structure, if you would, this kind of like a it's kind of like a wedge. It's an ending diagonal structure, and see that goes along the top of this 3 drive here with the UTAD, UT, and I guess we could call this the buying climax if this is the preliminary support. Anyway, if it prevails through the macro trend resistance and flips it to support, then we will effectively be back in this structure. And it's certainly possible, but typically we don't see that happening. We don't see that occurring after an ABC, after especially a structure breaking A wave that distributed from this UTAD point. So it remains to be seen what happens here at this failure to rally point where we are today. I suspect we may have multiple attempts at it, like we saw back here around this was on Christmas, and create maybe another pair of devil horns. The second one may go up even higher, but then I think we're going to go back down into it. We're going to be magnetized back to the anchored VWAP and come back down to retest this area here. And if we go through the anchored VWAP, then we're going to be heading back to this supply area where the selling climax landed at the end of this A wave, in the beginning of this B wave, and where the secondary test mitigated. And then we can go to the Bitcoin dominance chart here and see exactly what's going on with the dominance simultaneously. We are contending. Remember how the chart we just looked at, we were hugging the macro trend support line, or rather the resistance line. It was trying to flip it to support. Well, here on the market cap dominance chart, we have the battle for the anchored VWAP at the descending channel resistance. This is also a trend resistance, but this is a different chart. This is a Bitcoin market cap dominance chart. And we are also at a resistance trying to flip it to support, albeit this one is a descending channel. And descending channels are, unless we see some kind of catalyst or a some kind of evidence that it's getting broken and flipped, it's usually a continuation. So the price will continue to trend downward within this, as it were, this parallelogram, this tilted parallelogram. It's not a wedge. It's a channel. So far, I mean, I guess you can kind of make it look like a wedge if you want to, but I think it's more of a channel. And so we did come out of a wedge, though, an intra-channel wedge that we see here. Remember, this whole trajectory has been trending downward since it had its peak dominance back in back in December, around December 20th, which was again after the FOMC statement, when everything tanked, all the liquidity started flowing out of the risk assets in the markets. Well, we see that Bitcoin hasn't broken that trajectory. It's still on that same trajectory that had started when it began tanking. And so we just came out of this micro rising wedge. If you notice, we also back on the Bitcoin price chart, we're kind of in a macro wedge as well. I mean, a micro wedge here of all of its own. But again, two totally different charts. But both of them in rising micro wedges, and both of them with the price action beginning to encounter resistance at a key trend line. And so in this case, if we're not able to prevail through the channel trend on the dominance chart, then we're going to fall back down, and that would make sense because that would constitute the zigzag wave. And we would come back down to retest this area. This is kind of like the support area down here on this chart, which would be down here, and fall back to this zone. Now, underneath this zone is where alt season, we can expect a resumption of the alt season. That coincides with the same area as the first alt season that we had, albeit that 1 week period here when the alts were flying. You remember in the beginning of December, that was here when Bitcoin reached this part, 56.89% on the dominance chart. Anything under 56%, and then the alts begin to show and exercise their dominance over Bitcoin. Bitcoin goes into a stage of latency or passivity, and so that would be right under this support line here, where this triangle area. So if we get rejected here, and then we come back down into the channel, and then we bounce around a little bit more, and if we retrace further through this, down this channel, then we can expect the alts to now start rallying. It'll be time to start getting into positions, start setting your limit sells, and like I said, each altcoin for the most part following the similar trajectory of Bitcoin, but they're not reacting as, like, for example, when Bitcoin rallied this morning, some of the alts rallied, but many of them are like in just kind of in holding patterns where they are. They didn't do much, right? If you look at some, especially like the blue chippers, some of them went up more than 5%, but many of these are 1%, 2%. ICP is still, this could turn into a bull flag easily, or it could dump. It could distribute, but still, this kind of pattern is, we're starting to see. And I just picked this one arbitrarily. We're starting to see demand volume predominate. IMX, let's look at it. Yeah, these are not in necessarily bearish trading patterns. See, this could also turn into an accumulation range and mark up from here. This could be an LPS area. Now, this is if Bitcoin goes into latency. Now, if Bitcoin loses its dominance, this trading range here for this alt could very well turn into an accumulation, and then we could have the retest and then a markup, a macro markup from here. And you could just go through all the alts. So they're really just, right now, I think they're just holding, and they're not dumping. They're not going parabolic. They're waiting on to see what Bitcoin's fate is, and then from there, if Bitcoin goes into passivity, then we can expect the liquidity to come out of Bitcoin and into the alts, and then we can see a resumption of the alt season, which we kind of got gypped. We only had a week of alts, and then everything tanked. I'd like to see alt season resume, wouldn't you? That's where I make my money. So, all right, we're going to continue to watch Bitcoin regardless, and see what happens. If anything happens between now and then, I think it's noteworthy, I'll update. If not, I hope to see you guys soon. Like, subscribe if you get anything out of these videos, and we'll keep you safe in the markets. If you like to take your chart reading skills up a notch and kind of see how we swing in the group, We swing alts, especially with alt season, hopefully on the cusp of alt season. You might want to check out our private Discord group. I keep it extremely affordable, and I have great success with swinging the alts. So check us out. If not, you can benefit greatly just from these free videos and from looking at some of my charts that I upload to TradingView. All right, guys, that's it for me. I'm going to go, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Be safe in the markets. Of course, none of what I say is financial advice, except this: be safe in the markets, diversify. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't invest money you can't afford to lose. Obvious stuff, right? This is like stupid level, but some people need to be reminded. I need to be reminded of it. All right, guys. Adios. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.